Welcome to the adventures of J.R. Texas Consort. Hope you enjoyed this adventure. This should be a shorter episode, so we'll go ahead and go straight on into it. Narrating is Jimmy. Saturday, September 18th, 3:40 a.m. J.R. wakes up, still reeling from the angry exchange with Karen Crider the night before. He had Mary Jo take them to the carnival anyway. Only Ken and J.R. found out from Rand that she was picketing a Kmart in Odessa with Brad. Also that night, J.R. called his father in Philadelphia to tell him what happened. His father curtly suggested that he break it off with Karen and to stop hanging around with Brad. Meanwhile, downstairs, Betsy talks to a foreman about corralling their only ram in the barn for it to recover because it was sick. 5:45 a.m. Eastern. Jim and Claude trudge in the rain to get onto a chartered jet for the flight to Cincinnati. Last night, they had gone on a 3-hour yacht cruise, while the young people went below deck for a concert of 4 non-blondes. The older people were on deck having dinner, looking out at the water, at the waves. I'd rather listen to a little bit of Joe Diffie than the crap these kids are listening to, Claude said as they got onto the plane. Hell yeah, even Alabama sounds better than that, Jim said. By 6 a.m. Eastern, the private jet taxis down the runway and takes off for Cincinnati. Jim is still raving angry at what Karen and Brad did to Jim. No one double crosses a Hendrick without consequences, he thinks to himself. He was hoping that his friend Jack Robertson could apply enough pressure to President Clinton for him to have an appointment. 6:30 a.m. Central. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Elizabeth, Betsy, and Christine are sitting down to breakfast when J.R. enters the dining room. Good morning, y'all, J.R. said. How about some breakfast? Betsy asked. No, Ma. I'm having dinner and take myself, Ken, and Dave Smith for some breakfast and a chance to talk things out. His grandmother spoke up. It was ugly the way your girlfriend did you. Mama, that's the last thing J.R. needs to hear, Betsy said. The van horn honks. See you guys later, J.R. said, rushing out the door toward the van. I wish he'd sit still, Betsy said. Well, Christine said, pouring a glass of milk. Daddy's been trying to get him to do that for ages. Nothing's changed. 6:45 a.m. The van stops at UTV to pick up Dave Smith. Hey, JR. Let's forget about your woman and let's go have some fun. 6:55 a.m. And I am glad to see you, Ken said as he got into the car. Darren pulls the van out of Ken's drive. So I never went to prep school like you two did. What was it like for y'all back then? Well, JR was the popular one, Ken said. And Ken was the talkative one, JR said. Oh, I am sorry to have the wrong impression of him. Compared to that idiot Brad, Ken is a real friend. JR, always the popular friend, Ken said. I'll take him over Brad any day. From what I hear, Brad and Karen are nothing but baggage. And you can do a lot better, Dave said. 8 a.m. The plane lands in Cincinnati, and Jim and Claude get their luggage, and Jim rents a Chrysler to go to the Ritzy Hotel in Cincinnati. 7:30 a.m. Central. Back in the car, JR, Ken, and Dave have their conversation. I'm sorry, JR. I listened to Jim Bob in suggesting that you ask Karen out, Ken said. Oh, don't worry, guys, Gerald said. We're in the cooling off period. Besides, I'd much rather participate in the Sunday and Wednesday night Bible studies at the Scriptu Club than hang out with anywhere near Brad. I heard about what they did to you, Dave Smith said. Very disrespectful. JR, you should dump Miss Crider and go out with Jennifer Bauer. I'm thinking about it, JR said. Damn straight, Ken said. How could that woman do that to you? 8:25 a.m. Central. Back at the ranch, JR comes home with Ken. They go into the den to play some contract rummy. Christine is in the living room watching TV, while Betsy is herding some of the sheep. Elizabeth just put out some sun tea for the family. 12:40 p.m. President Clinton gets out of a cabinet meeting. We have a record of the phone conversation between him and two of his domestic policy people.
Well, I can understand, Mr. President, why you have your reservations. We just have a lot on our plate, and, you know, I just don't want him up in there unless, you know, unless I'm ready. So, Mr. President, what Carol and I were talking about is I wanted to do the beginning interview for myself to deal with whatever I have to deal with. And it's a problem. No doubt. No doubt it's a problem. Do we have the budget to hire a new public affairs officer? But I guess I owe the man, I mean, he's a rancher and old man. I owe the man a favor. I know that. But let's be honest with you, it's kind of like I have enough crap hitting me as it is. I got Congress supposedly dragging their feet right now, and it's just getting on my nerves. And this is the last thing I mean. It's kind of like, good Lord, don't let this man in here. Now, Mr. President, we have to go through a vetting process, and the first vetting process is, quite frankly, he has to be interviewed through me.
The president goes back to his cabinet meeting. Now, with that, (1:04 p.m. Central) in Jim's hotel room in Cincinnati. Jim is annoyed by the budget cuts set forth by Governor Ann Richards and Comptroller John Sharp. Jim learns that there is a need for a commissioner to visit in Uvalde because of poor quality on the rig. Jim reaches for a bottle of gin to soothe his upset feelings. He can't wait until this meeting is over so he can relax. 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time. A railroad commissioner from Lubbock states his willingness to assist commissioners in West Texas to improve support staff. 2:20 p.m. Eastern. Jim is still heavily involved in the Railroad Commission meeting. 1:20 p.m. Central. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Jerry and Ken discuss their feelings towards Karen Crider and Brad. It should be over between you and her, Ken said. Brad has corrupted her. I wouldn't say corrupted her, Jared said. Look here. Brad is this rich mama's boy, sheltered by being able to own 2 houses. Yeah, and he has to answer to mama everywhere he goes. I'm a mama's boy, but she's confident in that I'm in the right hands. Okay? Hey, let's forget about these two. How about we go somewhere for dinner? Sounds like a plan. I'll let Darren know. 2:40 p.m. Jim closes his meeting because, quite frankly, they're talking about the needs of San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston. He turns to Claude. Do I have anything to that? University of Cincinnati, Jim. Alright, good. Very good. I won't need to reach for any more liquor, Jim said.